Okay, so in this video I'm going to go a little bit deeper in the demonstration and showcase of Tricent, and I will be showing you two parts. This is the dashboard of Tricent, and as you can see there are two parts of or two groups of settings or items on the left side. There is the navigation and there is the admin side. So the navigation is basically the end user view. This is what the end users in your domain will see when they open the tool on app.tricent.com. Once they sign in with their Google Workspace accounts, then they will see the dashboard where they will see the list of the shared files, and there is the save list and the history. Now these two things will make sense once I start changing one of these shared files. So these are the shared files. Unfortunately, I cannot scroll down all the way because there are some files that I cannot just expose. But then let me select this first file here and let me go to edit. And as you can see, I'm able to do this as an end user. I can just view the shared files from this interface, and then I can open that and I can choose. First of all, I can choose to unshare this file with this specific user, or I can actually extend the file sharing if this file is required to be shared for more time. So for example, when I choose to extend the sharing for 30 days or 90 days, and then when I choose the option and when I click extend file sharing, this file will disappear from this list. Now this will take a little while for me because I have a lot of externally shared files, but then the file has disappeared from this shared file list, and now it is in the safe list. So if I go to the safe list, I will see the files that I have extended the sharing for. And again, when I select one of them, I can click edit, or when I select multiple, I can click edit, and then I can unshare this file or remove the safe listing for the file, and then this file will be treated as a standard file again. Now if you go to the history, you will see all of the actions that you have made on this file and when did you do that action. So this is the audit trail for me that will help me understand what actions that I have done, and also this same audit trail will be visible for the admins in the administrative actions menu. And because I am an admin, I can see these three items, and the first one of them is the cleanup configuration. This is a very important, or basically this is the central configuration of the whole tool. It will allow you to configure the cleanup. It will allow you to configure the cleanup frequency and the maximum file count to be presented in the cleanup, basically in the alerts, in the emails, and the maximum days where users can choose to safe list the shared files. So the maximum for us we defined is 1 year. We can keep the files shared for 1 year. Then we will receive another alert or another notification that these files should be unshared because they are no longer required. It's assumed. So it's then our call to unshare them or extend the sharing for these files. And then the new files save for X amount of days. This is let's say a grace period or something. So when a new file is created, it can be shared for 30 days without being considered for unsharing, or without you receiving an alert for this file to be unshared within these 30 days. And then these next set of settings are about the cleanup behavior. So cleanup enabled, this is where you enable or disable the cleanup. Then activate cleanup for trusted domains. This is something I will go now in the administrative actions. But basically, the internal domains that you define are considered trusted domains. So if you want to do cleanup even for internal domains, then you can enable it from here. It's good that you have the option to handle it from here, but I'm not sure if it's enabled by default or not. And if you have the option to enable it or disable it based on the need and based on the override settings if you configure those. Then the option to clean up on weekends, this might be something you want to consider in case users were not working, so they might not get that much effect or disruption. I don't know really, but you have the option to enable the cleanup on weekends if you choose to. Then defining the weekends, this is very important also to work with this setting. So then you have to choose the weekends here. And finally, the additional settings here. So you choose to enable or disable the override settings, and you also choose some settings on how to display the files for the user in the dashboard here. And also you do the cleanup using the modified time or created time. So this is basically your cleanup key or the base of when should you do a cleanup to a specific file. And this option is really nice and great, which is the rollback option. It will enable you to roll back the changes and settings that are made on the files after you unshare them, for example, if you find out that this is something that should not have been done on these files. So this is for the general cleanup settings, and these are for the My Drive only. These do not affect the shared drives. And now, talking about shared drives, it's something very interesting, because as much as shared drives are practical and awesome for organizations, they get out of control mostly and often, and it's actually the case that I'm seeing around in even my work. So there are some shared drives that are out of control, because the sharing model of shared drives is you share the whole shared drive to a team, and then this team adds content to this shared drive, and then they will just then be able to share that content to anyone if they are able to. Sometimes the sharing is added to the whole shared drive level, which exposes the whole folder structure to people who should not see that whole folder structure. And if these people are external people, then you will be in trouble, because you don't really need to share this whole folder structure and this whole shared drive with those external people, while you can only get away with sharing specific files or specific folders to them. So shared drives are something awesome for collaboration, but usually when it comes to managing them, it's a little bit tricky and it's a little bit tedious process, I would say. So luckily for us in Tricent, there is an option for us to do cleanup for shared drives as well. And again, you enable the automatic cleanup for these, and you configure the frequency in terms of days for the cleanup and all of that, and who is responsible to manage the cleanup for the shared drive. So by default, the managers and content managers are the ones responsible for the cleanup and the ones who are going to receive the cleanup emails and alerts for the shared drive. Now you can do this individually for specific shared drives. So you can choose whatever if you want from these, and then you can enable or disable the settings for these. You get some nice statistics here as well. So you get the amount of shared files, and then of these, the internally or the externally and the internally shared files, which is something very nice and very insightful as well, because you get to know which shared drives are the most exposed to the internet. So it might give you some idea and some, starting point where you would start looking and working with the cleanup of shared drives. So with the cleanup settings done, then let me take you to the administrative actions. In the administrative actions, you've got some good amount of settings and pages actually. So if you go to users, this is a list and a view of all of the users in your domain, and then the delegation for this user if you want to make them administrators on this interface or not. Usually it's only the IT basically, I think. And then the status of this user if it is enabled for the cleanup or for the application or not, and the status of the cleanup, which is disabled in this case, but in your case if you enable it for all of the users, you should see a green check mark on this, and the statistics for this user, the externally shared files, the internally shared files, and the list or the safe listed files. So these will show you the files that are added to the user's safe list. When you go to the domains, this is where you define your internal or trusted domains, where you want to exclude them from the cleanup. So basically all of the internal domains are added here, with the ability to add more domains if you want, and then those domains will be excluded from the cleanup. Now just one more note I missed about the users. So in the users, These statistics are also available in the statistics page, and that's something that I will be showing you in a bit now. Moving into the events logs, this is a way of audit logging, or a way for you to track what's going on in the system. So you see now that I have safe listed 2 files, and these files names are mentioned here, and this is the name of these files. And if I click the item, you will see a more detailed view. So you will see the file name and the action and the acting user and the date when this happened. Now, if you remember a moment ago, I mentioned the option to roll back. So if I choose this file, and when I click this rollback one file button, then it will revert the change to the original state. Now if I go back to the dashboard and wait a while, then I should see this file back into the initial shared files list and out of the safe list, but then it's going to take a while, so I'm not going to do it, but that's how it should happen when you do it on your side. When you go to systems logs, it's also a way for you to export the logs and or to show the actions, and you choose what type of actions that you would like to see. And there are a lot of actions and there are a lot of stuff to be included in this report, which is really nice. And just to show you an example, I have just done a rollback for safe listed files. So let me uncheck all of these and only keep that one. So when I show actions, it will show that this file that I have just done, it's no longer safe listed, and then it will be treated, or then I'll receive an alert for this file later on to decide if I want to keep it shared or unshare it with that external user. Now these statistics, I think I have shown you this in the previous video as a recorded clip. But this is where you download a point-in-time status overview for the shared files. So you can use it multiple times actually. It's not something you should use one time or anything. You can do it on weekly basis or monthly basis if you want, just to track the overall utilization and the externally shared files for your organization. So you can do it, for example, at the first day of the enabling of the tool. And then you can do it let's say 2 weeks after, to see what changes are being done by the users and by the tool itself. And you can do it a month later on to do it, and so on. And each time you download the statistics, it will generate a CSV file for you that when you open it, you will see a very raw view, which is very nice because you can then customize with charts and with some specific visuals, or you can just pull or take this data and load it into some other system and then build your own report and track the utilization and statistics for the externally shared files and how people are safe listing and sharing the files externally. And finally, the bulk cleanup. I have also shown you this in the previous video. So basically it's a way for you to unshare a user's file starting from a specific point in time and going back in the time. So let's say I want all of the externally shared files for this user that have been shared, let's say from December and back or earlier. So anything that has been shared from 1st of December 2021 and earlier will be unshared. Anything shared after this date will be kept shared and it will not be touched. Basically, this is a good way for you to handle all of the externally shared files. If you need to make sure that you're starting your configuration with no externally shared files, for example, or you just got an urgent need to unshare all of the files, then that's the way for you to do it very easily and very straightforward. And you can also use this as part of your employees or user accounts offboarding process. So when an employee is leaving your organization and you want to make sure that you are having all of the externally shared files revoked and only the internally shared files are still kept available for the users, Then, or even if you want to do the internally shared files as well, and you want to unshare everything from this leaving employee, or either on the day that the employee is leaving or whenever they submitted their resignation, just whatever the workflow that you're doing, then you can come here and select that employee and bulk clean or unshare all of his files or her files so that they don't have any externally shared files exposed before they leave the organization or even after they leave the organization. So that's it as a quick overview and a quick tour on the dashboard and the admin side of Tricent. I know that this might be a very quick one, but as you can see, it's a very simple dashboard. Most of the stuff are automated for you. You just make sure that you are setting up the policies right, the cleanup rules and all of this. You will get a very nice visibility on the actions that are being done here, and if you can see now the rollback actions that I have done a moment ago, it's visible here. So you get a lot of compliance, you get a lot of flexibility in terms of rolling back the user's actions or your own actions if you don't want them. And I really encourage you to check it out. And as mentioned in one of the previous videos as well, you can get a free assessment by the Tricent team. So you will get the tool deployed on your side. Then you get access to this statistics report so that you can see your users and your domains external shares and how much you are exposing of your files to the outside. And also I would really encourage you to check the website of Tricent as well. It contains a lot of resources and a lot of information that will help you even to get familiar with the requirements and the compliance that you need to meet. So if you go to the resources and if you go to the compliance page, you will get a very useful information about specifically the GDPR, and you will find a lot of details. And this is actually the fine that I mentioned in one of the previous videos. I think Amazon got this massive amount of fine because they could not comply with the GDPR. And it contains some useful information about general privacy and compliance practices around. So it's really nice for you to read and be familiar with. Also, if you check the rest of the resources section, you can go to the knowledge base for some more details, or you can go to webinars to view some of the previous webinars that have been conducted by Tricent that focus on the compliance and privacy and how to protect your files and all of that. And of course, you can contact and get in touch with their team so that you can get more details, or you can get a demo on this tool, or you can get the assessment done for you and then get started in controlling or securing the external file sharing in your organization.